40% of businesses that close after a disaster never reopen. And that's because of the lack of a plan. They have no plan.
Oh my gosh, the area that you're in, holy cow.
We helped businesses secure over $52 million in capital just in our 10-county Tampa Bay region. Last year, it was $216 million.
Holy cow. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah. It's amazing, being that we live in Hurricane Central, the number of businesses that have no plan for disaster.
Hi guys, welcome to Local Relief Live. I am your host, Heather Hackett. I'm super excited to bring you here today, and the point of Local Relief Live is just what we're doing today. So our whole goal is to try to educate you on resources that are available to you before, during, and after disasters. So this person next to me is fantastic. She will tell you all about how they help before, during, and after disasters. So this is Stacey Dadd with, I'm going to get it right, SBDC, which is the Small Business Development Center. So she's going to tell you all about what that is. But first, I want to say thank you, Stacey, for joining me. And you're here in person, which is fun. So
yes,
thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So we first talked last week, and you actually heard of Local Relief from Tampa Bay, the Business Journal.
Yes,
right?
I saw it in the Tampa Bay Business Journal when you had launched, and was immediately interested and downloaded the app that day.
Yeah, perfect. But we had a great discussion last week, so I'm really excited that you did see it in the Business Journal. But let's hear about what you do, because I was surprised, one, that I hadn't heard of it before, but also I was so excited because this is a resource, and it's a phenomenal one at that, for small businesses, and especially in the Florida area that have been impacted by storms. So.
Right. So the Florida Small Business Development Center Network is a statewide network. We cover all 67 counties in the state. It's also part of a larger national network. It's called ASBDC, America's SBDC. So pretty much any city you live in the United States, you could Google your city with SBDC, and you'll find an SBDC office local to you. In Florida, we're one of the original pilot programs. Next year's our 50-year anniversary, and we provide no-cost business assistance to aspiring, emerging, and established for-profit business owners in my area. The region I'm connected to covers the 10-county Tampa Bay area. So we cover Pasco, Hernando, inland to Polk, down to Highlands, Hardy, DeSoto, Manatee, Sarasota, Hillsborough, Hernando, and Pinellas counties.
Okay, fantastic. And this is businesses already established? So this is any stage?
Any stage of business. If you have a business idea and you're just thinking about what you want to start and don't know where to go, we can help with that. We step you through the licensing, we step you through your business plan, the feasibility study, etc. Or we can work with, for instance, manufacturers who've been around for 20 plus years and are looking to start exporting. We've got an international trade arm that can help you find the markets to export to, for instance.
No, this is huge. And especially, for business owners, that you typically get into business because you love it and you love something. You don't really get into business because you say, hey, guess what? I want to wear every hat, and I want to run myself ragged, and I want to work,
right,
23 hours out of the day. So this, having this resource for people that don't know about every hat and just say, hey, I just have this desire to be a business owner, but I don't know every aspect of what is not only necessary to grow it, but you may have one mindset to grow it to a certain extent, and you need that help past that.
Right. So you hit the nail on the head. Like, I'm a great chef, but I don't know how to run a business. I don't know what I'm supposed to do for my taxes. I don't know how to go get money to fund my restaurant. We're basically a no-cost member of your C-suite. We are government funded. We are funded by the Small Business Administration, the state of Florida legislature, and then we've got various financial institution partners across the 10-county region, typically places like Wells Fargo, Fifth Third, Suncoast, etc. they give us technical assistance funds to provide training for business owners. But that's what we do. We can help with business plan assistance. We can help with marketing. Like, how do I do social? I just want to run my business. I don't know how to run Facebook, create Instagram videos and reels, and build my website. What should that look like? And we've got consultants that have specialties in all of their own areas. I've got about 30 consultants across the 10-county region, and we all have our own specialties. So mine is Certified Marketing Executive. I'm Google Analytics IQ certified as well. So I do website user interface on the front side. I do social media review, branding review, etc. But I've got guys who are former bankers who know exactly what the banks are looking for. Each bank is different in what they're looking for in funding a business, and they've got connections in the industry that they can connect business owners with for that kind of thing.
That's incredible. Now, wow, as far as like the vastness goes of the services that you offer, and I kind of want to touch on that for a second, but also I think the one thing that was important to mention is the fact that of the 30 people that you have, those are actually paid staff members, so it's not based on, a volunteer role. Like, it's actually like it is your full-time job.
Correct.
To do this and to be there. So you mentioned marketing, Google Analytics, of which, yes, we will definitely be talking about as well. But as far as all the services that you offer, I don't even know if you know all of the services that you can list them, but you kind of touched on some of them. Can you go further into detail of what services that you offer?
Yes. So we do general services, which is I'm starting my business. I need help with the licensing, the county tax receipts, sales tax receipts, things like that. But we also have international trade. So we help people get into exporting and figuring out which countries would be primed for them to export into. We do strategic plan analysis. So we'll go in and look at everything in the business, the operations, your employee processes, if you're a manufacturing facility, what that looks like, and find opportunities for you to increase your hidden profits there. We'll help businesses with capital access, loan packaging, and development. That is a prime area of what we do. We do a lot of that. Last year, for instance, we helped businesses secure over $52 million in capital just in our 10-county Tampa Bay region. That's just our region.
Holy cow.
Another huge aspect of what we do is government contracting. So I've got 2 government contracting consultants in the region who help with local, state, and federal contracting. So they look at business owners, they look at the capability statements. They help them understand the proposals and how to bid on those proposals and what they're going to have to do to perform on those proposals. Our region in particular accounts for nearly 40% of government contracts accessed by small businesses. Last year, it was $216 million that we helped small businesses in the 10-county region secure government contracts for.
Holy cow. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Wow. So, all right. So because this is Local Relief Live, right? Mm-hmm. And because we talk to people about, disaster services and that type of stuff, one, this is a phenomenal resource for any business anyway. But let's talk about when a storm is approaching or anything along those lines. What services, as far as do they change or what do you offer there?
I wouldn't say they change. It's something that we do year-round. So we are state designated as the principal provider of business assistance in Florida. So we are part of, for instance, the ESF 18 team here in this area of the region. We're also part of CERT, which is the State of Florida Emergency Management Team or Emergency Response Team. We help before, during, and after a storm. So before, we help businesses with creating things like business continuity plans. It's amazing, being that we live in Hurricane Central, that the number of businesses that have no plan for disaster.
So let's elaborate on that one for those that don't know, what is a business continuity plan?
So a business continuity plan is a document that you can pull out should a disaster hit that helps you continue to run your business if you can't access your normal location, like your business is underwater, or your employees can't report to work, or your supplier goes under. And it's not just for hurricanes. It can be for mass power outages. It can be for fire. It's to cover all catastrophic events. And in the business continuity plan, you should have things like, how do I get a hold of my employees if they can't get to the office? How can I check on them? Who's their emergency contact? What documents am I going to need if I need to apply for emergency funding with a local institution, the state of Florida, or the SBA? What documents do I need? Where are those documents? Can I access them outside of my building? If my supplier goes out of business or is affected by the same storm I am, who are my backup suppliers?
Oh, good point.
So things like that are in the business continuity plan.
Yeah, so you can see why it's important. It is very different from a business plan. So, again, why we're elaborating on what it is, but also why it's so important. And as far as, even, after, as far as like after a disaster goes, is this, and even there, I guess the better question is, when should someone reach out to you?
Well before a disaster hits.
Yes.
Well before a disaster hits.
I wanted you to say that. Yes, perfectly. So definitely reach out. Seriously, reach out to them now. There's no reason that you shouldn't. But as far as this continuity plan goes, I don't think people realize and understand where it's a little more than how do I clean water out of my business. This is something along the lines of, like you said, how do you reach your staff? Are they doing the same roles? This person may be calling the old patients. This may be, you may have to pivot. You may have to pivot in a lot of different ways that you didn't realize. So this is super important. This is something that you just can't say, oh, well, after the business, we clean it up. No, people still need to get paid. You still need to bring money in. You need to figure out what that's going to look like. And just like you said, I didn't even think of like alternate suppliers, especially if you have products and services that are local. But there are a lot of things that again, should be addressed, in this continuity plan.
So it should be noted that 40% of businesses that close after a disaster never reopen. And that's because of the lack of a plan. They have no plan for how they're going to get through whatever that disaster happens to be, right down to, how do I work with my insurance? How long is it going to take my insurance to reimburse me? Do I have business disruption insurance? What documents is my insurance going to need compared to everybody else when I'm applying for funding?
Oh my gosh, the area that you're in, holy cow. And with the storm season that we had this last year, what were you seeing? What were people, I'm sure, unfortunately, people were reaching out to you afterwards realizing they didn't have a plan.
Yeah.
But you tell me, you say what you
So we had Debbie come through first, then Helene, followed up by Milton. And it all kind of hit the same areas over and over. So there were multiple loans, emergency funding loans, that opened up as a result of all three of those disasters. And during a disaster and immediately after, we serve as a central hub for information on those programs. So if you go to our website, sbdctampabay.com, when a disaster hits, we've got a banner right on the front page that directs people where to go to find out the latest for that information. So immediately after the disaster hit this last time, of course, our requests for consulting jump, and people are wanting to get in because it's typically a first in, first funded system for both the SBA and the state of Florida. We also have a big RV that is self-contained. We've got multiples of them, actually. They're self-contained. They roll out with self-contained internet, air conditioning, printers, computers, etc. And we roll those into the hardest hit communities. So with the last three disasters that took place last year, we rolled out to USF in Tampa because downtown Tampa was particularly hard hit. Yeah. We also went to the Sarasota Chamber, the Manatee Chamber of Commerce down in Bradenton, and we worked with Longboat Key Chamber of Commerce to set up out there because that area in particular was pretty hard hit. Yeah. And what happens is we roll out, our partners promote that we're going to be there, and people can just walk right up onto the bus. We can help them create their accounts for both the SBA and the state of Florida bridge loan portals, and help them start submitting the documentation, educate them about what those programs are, because some people do believe that those are grant programs, and they're not. They have to be paid back, and there are steep penalties when they are not. But like state of Florida, for instance, it's exactly what it sounds like, the emergency bridge loan. It's meant to bridge the gap until you can get your insurance payout or get back to normal business, et cetera. So they're not an answer for everybody. So in addition to helping people work through those loans on the bus and in our normal consulting endeavors, we can still do virtual consulting or meet with people at our satellite offices. We have a satellite office at Sarasota Chamber and also the Manatee Chamber's Lakewood Ranch location, as well as elsewhere throughout the region. But they can come in like they normally would. They can visit us on the MAC, or they can do virtual consulting with us. And then if they are not interested in loans, we help them figure out, okay, how am I going to make money in my business in the meantime? Do I need to pivot? Do I have an online store? Can I have an online store? Is my store set up well so people can actually get through it and buy? Because a lot of them are not.
Yeah.
Do I need to diversify what I'm doing? You know, during COVID, for instance, we had manufacturers who could not produce what they were normally producing anymore, and they diversified over to producing hand sanitizer. And it was a huge success for those businesses that did that.
Yeah, I think, you know, and even there, part of me wants to ask, and like, is there a common question or is there a common thing that people came in with? But at the same time, every business is totally different. And what you guys help with is phenomenal because you don't just help with funding. You don't just help with marketing. You literally, I can't stress enough how valuable that is of having a team, in essence, that's there for you to say, here are all of the different things that you can look at where, you know, let's look at sales, for that example that you just gave. Mm-hmm. I'm a small business. What do I know about hand sanitizer? Nothing.
Yeah.
Can you guys help? And that's where I think, you know, and you don't realize until you're in this disaster. I mean, I look at St. Armand Circle, you know, for example, where, I mean, they were hit 3 times and then they would come back and then they got hit again and then they would come back and then they got hit again. And just seeing how they would pivot, you know, and you walked around and I did videos right before Christmas. I'm like, you need to do your Christmas shopping here and get here and support these people. Mm-hmm. And you saw people literally outside, standing outside their locations. They had folding tables of goods, services, anything they could get their hand on. And half of it was like, hey, you know, we're selling it for cash and we're doing this. Okay, great. Whatever they could do to pay their rent. Your rent doesn't stop. Your payroll doesn't stop. I mean, none of that stuff stops. You have to figure out what to do. And I can't stress enough of how important that business continuity plan is and how important, I mean, your services are because you do that. It's not just a program for a loan, you know, where you actually provide that assistance and say, hey, okay, if you do want to sell hand sanitizer, here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to optimize your website. All of that stuff. I can't just how absolutely invaluable that is. I mean, is there, obviously the hand sanitizer thing is a classic and great example, but is there another example you can think of businesses that you like really just kind of helped soups and nuts?
Not related to disaster per se, but we help businesses with diversifying their product lines all the time. I mean, from pet care businesses that are doing, you know, packaged products that are now going to start producing their own natural food for pets. We've got a couple of those that have done that. We've got vets who have taken their services from being stationary to mobile. Obviously, we work with a lot of restaurants who, again, need to pivot because another thing that happened during COVID was people figured out that they didn't necessarily need to have a brick and mortar location anymore, but they still wanted to be in business, and what that looks like is completely different. So we do what we call growth acceleration plans, and that's one of the things they look at. Is there an opportunity elsewhere? Same thing with strategic plan assessments. Are you on the right path, or do you need to pivot and go down another route? And part of what we use for that is market research. Being part of University of South Florida, we have access to a lot of market research that the general public does not have access to. So when people come in and they're like, I don't know if this is going to work, that's the first thing that we do is we go to the market research, take a look at it to see if it is a feasible idea, what they're wanting to diversify to.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
But let's say, so I have an idea for a business. Mm-hmm. And I go to you. What does that process look like?
So you and anybody that wants to do consulting with us, they just have to go to the website, sbdctampabay.com. And on the top right of the website, it says request a consultant. So you click the button, fill out the form. That form is required by the SBA. It just says that you understand you're entering into a consulting engagement with us. You verify you're a legal citizen, eligible to receive services. And then that form actually comes directly to me. I am the intake person for the 10-county region as well. And on the form, it asks you what you're looking for. So it could be, want to start a business, need to know about licensing. It could be, I run a restaurant and we're struggling. I need help to figure out what's wrong here. And then I pick the consultant that best fits that request for consulting. And you made a point earlier that we're all full-time, like this is our full-time gig. Yeah. We are paid by University of South Florida, Hillsborough County, or Pinellas County. We are all full-time employees, 40 hours a week, and we are required to maintain third-party certifications every year. So we all have our own professional development that we have to do to maintain those certifications, and that's why, for instance, when we do disaster recovery, we've got business continuity professionals. That's their certification that come out on the buses with us and help businesses through that.
Oh, wow.
So I decide where your request goes and who you're working with based on their expertise and your need.
What is your expertise?
My expertise is marketing. I come from journalism. So I'm a newspaper baby. I still have ink in my veins.
Yeah.
Always will. And I pivoted my journalism skills into marketing. I did a digital marketing agency and worked primarily with financial institutions, but I did that alongside my SBDC job years ago, and that was around the time COVID hit. And it was being the intake person. I mean, we got thousands of requests for consulting once the state of Florida opened up its bridge loan application overnight. Wow. We were working 24-hour cycles, the intake team. So I closed down that agency to devote my attention full-time to the Small Business Development Center. So I'm got an SMEI certification called Certified Marketing Executive and the Google Analytics IQ certification, and I have to maintain both of those yearly. So I've got to do the required 20 hours of professional development with the SBDC. I've got economic development finance professionals. We've got CPAs. We've got the business continuity professionals. I've got certified global business professionals. They all get to choose their own certification based on their previous experience and what they're interested in, because we want them all to enjoy what it is they're working on with their clients.
Oh, absolutely. You know, and I think that's the best part is that you can choose, you know, what area you're in, and at the same time to get those certifications and be up to date and current. And, you know, I think that is absolutely phenomenal. And the fact that it's offered for free is huge. So I can't stress enough of that. I was telling my husband about it this morning. I was like, I absolutely love this resource. I think it's great. And I think everybody should know about it, especially, I can't stress enough, before storm season, you know, and to make sure, you know, and even for any season, oh my gosh, the fact that you guys are available and are doing this, and clearly know what you're doing, you know, when you have the numbers that you do, when you're, you know, the 52 million to 218 or 19, whatever it is, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. Our impact speaks for itself, but I do want to mention, you know, you've mentioned reach out ahead of time. I've mentioned reach out ahead of time. That goes for government contracting too, because a lot of the requests that we get when a disaster hits are cleanup. I want to help with cleanup. You cannot do that in the heat of a disaster.
Yes,
that is something that has to be set up and done a year prior. So if you're wanting to do disaster cleanup and get into the flow for local and state recovery, that needs to be done really already for this storm season.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's late in the game now.
Yeah.
You know, but that does also, I would say, go with your continuity plan of, hey, if we're offering these services, you know, and of course in disasters, you have blue skies, gray skies, you know, so if you have these in blue skies and then gray skies, your business turns to this, there are so many companies that do that.
Yeah.
You know, so again, one more reason to go to you and say, hey, this is our blue sky business. This is our gray sky business. You know, here's what we do here. You can help them transition and say, hey, these are the services that you need. Here's the, you know, the plan to put in place, as opposed to disaster hits. And the two words that I say all the time is that now what, you know, and don't wait till you hit that now what, please. I mean, don't it at that point, it not only is it too late to a degree, but now you're in line,
Right.
so now you're sending the messages along with everybody else, that Stacey has to go through, the other part too is when you're doing that, you're not doing the marketing component and, doing what you love. And yes, your job is both, but you don't want to be in that line. You already want to be established and have those plans in place. And especially too, when that service is available, there's really no reason you can't. I mean,
Right.
you have to do it. And even if it's not you, even if you sign someone in your business, to do it, I think is huge.
And as a note, during disaster, it is all hands on deck for the SBDC. Like statewide, last year we were shorthanded with the number of people we needed to roll out on the buses because we had buses in Tampa, Manatee, Sarasota, Pinellas. We had other regions actually send people down to help us on the buses because there was that need. And it's the consultants who work with the SBDC, they've all been successful business owners in their own right. Some of them are still successful business owners in their own right, but primarily they get into consulting because they want to give back. That is their whole purpose. So whenever a disaster hits, our consultants are like, where do you need me? And we also bring the SBA on the buses with us. Whenever they want, they can put somebody on the bus with us so that if you've got applications that have hit a snag in SBA, they can help right there on the spot in getting that through the system. And the state of Florida also does send out people with us occasionally, or we go out on their bus for Florida Commerce.
How many regions are there in Florida?
For SBDC, there are 9 regions.
Okay, so
Yeah.
9 buses?
No,
more
there's
buses?
2, I want to say, don't quote me on this, but I think there's 2 large Macs. They're like the big 38, 40-foot Macs. And then we've got some smaller Class C vehicles as well. So, but we also, we'll just drive up in, we do a lot of canvassing during disaster recovery as well. So I canvassed in Venice last year, which is when we walk around and walk into the businesses for individual conversations with every one of them. What are you struggling with right now? What questions do you have? So a consultant and myself did that in Venice. I did that at St. Armand's. We did that over in Highlands County because we had some citrus affected over there with the disasters as well, because we did get the brunt of Milton through Hardy and Highlands counties. So,
is there one small thing that people can do? Is there one piece of advice that above all, before anything else, that you have for small business owners, especially, whether it be just being a Florida business or, coming up to hurricane season? Is there one piece of advice that you have, or is it just go to you?
I don't know if I'll call it small. But in Florida particularly, I would say that business continuity plan has got to happen. Yeah. Even if it's 2 pages, having some kind of plan down, having that contact information for your employees. And then ultimately, you've got to have your documentation in line for whatever you're going to need, whether it's filing insurance, filing for a loan, applying for a loan. You have to have access to those documents, and you have to have your taxes done on time for most of those loans. And if not, you have to have filed for an extension. So that is key. You have to either have filed for an extension or have your current tax documents for those application programs.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So especially, for season taxes, continuity plans. And I love the fact too that you said even if it's 2 pages, because it sounds very intimidating and very, oh my gosh, I don't have time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, too, you don't have time not to do it, even if it's just to prepare it and just to get that 2 pages down where you go, okay, in general, here's what we're going to do. You're going to do X, you're going to do Y, we're going to do this. Okay, cool, break. But also don't just know about it for yourself, but let your staff know about it as well.
Yes.
Education is everything, hence even why we're here for this podcast. The purpose of the podcast, educate people, tell your team what's going on, and have that plan in play so they don't stress out. Anxiety to me is just a lot of times lack of information and education.
Yeah, and I was going to say it's peace of mind. You are probably in the middle of the disaster personally as well. So we're not always thinking the clearest for our business when that disaster hits. So having peace of mind that there's a document I can go to that even if I'm not thinking straight or I'm super stressed, I can literally just step through it and be like, okay, I've got this, I need to take care of this. And I'm so glad you mentioned training because we do that too.
Of course you do.
If you go to sbdctampabay.com and click on training there, we've got both live classes that you can do virtually or face-to-face. Probably 90% of what we do is virtual, but we've got some face-to-face stuff going on as well. And then there's an on-demand page. And on the on-demand page, you can find like the ABCs of disaster contracting. You can find starting a business. You can find marketing your business. I teach an AI for marketing class. So there's all sorts of resources on our website and within our organization, and you just have to be willing to reach out and ask for help. Nobody's expected to know 100% of everything and be perfect at everything. I tell my son this all the time. He's 8. You don't need to be perfect. It's, it's about learning. And that goes for business owners as well.
Absolutely.
Very few know everything they need to know about
mistakes
business.
Show you're trying. I truly believe that. But try not to repeat the same one over and over and over again. But no, I think that part is absolutely key. And as far as resources go too, we will also have that, or we do also have that on the Local Relief app. So we point to you guys anyway. Again, phenomenal resource. But as far as I know, you said SBDC Tampa Bay, but for statewide, you said just.
So if you are not in the 10-county Tampa Bay region, you can go to floridasbdc.org and find a location on there, and it'll step you through the same form that you would normally see on my website. Our system is connected, so even if you go to my website to fill out the form at sbdctampabay.com, it will automatically direct itself to the right region.
Okay. Yeah. Well, if you do that, if you fill out, of which you should, especially, if you're in the area of which we live, if you reach out to SBDC Tampa Bay, make sure you say hi to Stacey in your message because she's the one that's going to get it. But seriously, I mean, this is a resource for you guys and a phenomenal one at that. So I am so glad you reached out. Any other advice besides taxes, continuity plan, and reaching out?
Utilize the resources. That's it.
Please.
They're already paid for in your taxes, so add a free member to your C-suite with qualified individuals.
There you go. It doesn't get any easier than that. So I just want to say, Stacey, thank you so much for driving here and for this information. It is absolutely crucial, for businesses small and large. The resource is phenomenal. So thank you.
Well, thank you for having us, and thank you for doing what you do, because your work is important for disaster recovery as well.
Oh, thank you. Again, Heather with Local Relief Live. Make sure you like and share and follow and all that stuff. And above all, download the app. But we will see you again soon. Thank you so much.